Page, ODM scoffs at coalition partners. There's more on Mudavadi Wetangula leading in Kibra vote hunt. So if you want to know the latest on what's happening in the in Kibra as we await that by elections, the Standard has got you covered. But on the opposite page of that, that is page 7 of the Standard, we're being told leave 2022 to God, says Gideon Moi. Now the senator for Baringo has asked other politicians to stop 2022 succession politics. Do you agree, Mr. Wada, that we need to leave it to God?
God is very busy. Jehovah, the King of Kings, is very busy. He's still worried about people are dying of hunger. In Baringo Yakati, where he is a senator, God wants everybody to plan. He has left planning to man. Whoever wants to be president 2022, you have to plan today, you have to prepare, you have to arrange it to people. All we leave to God would be stability. But in terms of looking for votes, putting people together, destroying others, destroying your enemies, coalitions, they start early. So I would urge my governor, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. And I think if he was to think about it, we would urge him to change his mind and start planning, working, then that plan is what it takes to God. But if he leaves it and he goes to sleep, he will wake up and he will find either Honorable William has taken everything, or Honorable Jacob has swept everybody. So let him be alert and let him do the planning.
All right. Mr. Guana, do you believe 3 years is too soon to be campaigning?
I actually agree with Senator Gideon very, very well. I think based on the political temperature in the country that began as soon as the elections were done in 2017, there's very little that will be achieved, because you're seeing a deputy president plotting and starting to campaign in 2017, just as soon as the election is done. And that puts people into a political tempo for the entire time. And then you're left to wonder, when do we do development without politics? Now it's escalating to a point where people are fighting within the church. No respect for the church, for God's sanctuary, no respect for people, worshippers. People are fighting on the basis of who needs to invite who to speak. I mean, what sort of nonsense is this? Where members of parliament will literally go face to face in a church because, oh, I'm supposed to be having the authority over you. I mean, from the last I checked, any elected position is a responsibility to serve. And therefore, if we have a servitude spirit, it will allow us to be meek and to also wait until we're given a responsibility to serve. I mean to air our views. Yes. But if we want to take over the responsibility, even in a church, and I'm very, very happy that the Kutangatanga group has finally, through the Embattle Nyoro, has actually apologized to that extent to the Catholic community that it was wrong for him to fight in a church. This labels, whether kutangatanga, whether kuleweka, whether a handshake, I think we're in a country where, if you don't belong to any of them, then you're a nobody. I think what we need to look at, as, Honorable Gideon is saying, for matters of 2022, let's wait for the right time for politics. But we are dividing this country when we are already labeled. You walk on the street and somebody asks you, are you kutangatanga or kuleweka or a handshake? And you really don't know which one is which. To an extent where you're wondering now, am I the odd one out here? I think our people need to know that there's life beyond politics. Yeah. And for that reason, let's leave politics to 2022.
Ideally speaking, but then with the ball already rolling and people scuffling in churches, politicians labeling themselves, do you think we can even backtrack and go back to the whole idea of development, given where we are?
Becoming a nation that has no respect to authority, has no respect to the leadership of the country. We have no respect even to the person we call our boss. And that is an anarchy. We must have a country that there is order. If the president wants the 4 agenda of development to take place, that's what everybody needs to focus on. If the president wants to fight corruption, that's what everybody in his cabinet, everybody in his, in his executive position needs to follow. But if you have a president that says, this is what I want people to go for, self-audit and find out whether, there are issues about, whether they've stolen money or not, and the deputy president says, oh, but you're not going to look at us, or his people say that, then we are dividing a country. We are having a place where we do not respect the authority and we don't respect the office of the president, and to me, that is just not what we want for this country. Right. We want a country that is, is working together, there's cohesion, and then when you have people coming up in labels, and some of them are coming from Rift Valley, some of them are coming from Central. What about the ones that are coming from no place? We are dividing this country through tribal, which I think the handshake is building, and therefore we must have some discipline and respect to our leaders as well.
Dr. Njoya, what's your take?
I think politicians are too corrupt and too... They have no right to talk about God. The people of Kenya, ideally, which is what I don't know will happen, the people of Kenya will decide the next president. There's the saying, the voice of the people, the voice of God is the voice of the people. Is it the other way around? The voice of the people is the voice of God. So we are the God who will choose who the next leader is if we have proper elections.
Right.
Now, these politicians are wasting our time talking about elections. Most of us actually don't listen to them anymore because we are tired of talking about personalities when we have big issues to deal with. Like, are we talking about pollution, corruption, healthcare, education? These are the things we want politicians to talk about, and yet every Sunday they're still telling us about presidential elections. We don't care. We want to care about that maybe 3 months before elections, but not now. So he's talking to the birds, I think.
Okay. Now,
just allow me something.
Right.
Let me just think this.
Yes.
I've had this notion, and Taria said that the voice of people is the voice of God. That is not correct. In fact, in God's kingdom, it's never majority. You hear the right? The king is everything. He has quite often said, this majority, kill all of them. So the people majority can be wrong. And the bad leaders we are having, they have been elected by majority. And you see, we see them. Look at Nairobi. Majority comes, you bribe them, and then they vote for you. I don't think God is in that one. I really don't think so. Some of these leaders we have, it is our choices, and when we make wrong choices, it is us, and we blame God for it. That's not correct.
But in 1 Samuel, when the people said they wanted a king, God accepted, even though God didn't want a king. So sometimes God caves in to the will of the people. And so whoever we will vote, God will accept as the person whom the people have voted to lead this nation. Now, the problem is, and this is what politicians should be working on, the problem is, can we get a credible vote so that when we vote in August 2022, we know that this is the person we, the Kenyans, really voted.
Absolutely.
There has never been that confidence in elections except in 2002. And that's what they should be working on, not telling us about who is going to be competing. We don't care. What we want to know is whether